All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Sunil Verma and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsana Srivastav. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says government will continue MSP and old mandi system along with agricultural reforms. Centre invites farmer leaders for talks today in New Delhi. Voting is underway for second phase of DDC elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Health Ministry issues new COVID guidelines for marketplaces. US President-elect Joe Biden names Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary and Indian-American Neera Tandon as Director, Office of Management and Budget. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that new agricultural reforms have given farmers new options and new legal protection, and at the same time the old system also continues if someone chooses to stay with that.
भारत के कृषि उत्पाद पूरी दुनिया में मशहूर है। क्या किसान की इस बड़े मार्केट और ज्यादा दाम तक किसान की पहुंच होनी चाहिए कि नहीं होनी चाहिए? अगर कोई पुराने सिस्टम से ही लेन देन को ठीक समझता है तो उस पर भी इस कानून में कहां कोई रोक लगाई है भाई? नए कृषि सुधारों से किसानों को नए विकल्प और नए कानूनी संरक्षण ही तो दिए गए हैं।
He assured the farmers of the country that the new agricultural reforms have been introduced for their development. The Prime Minister was addressing a gathering in his parliamentary constituency Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh yesterday.
पहले तो मंडी के बाहर हुए लेन देन ही गैर कानूनी माने जाते थे। ऐसे में छोटे किसानों के साथ अक्सर धोखा होता था, विवाद होते थे, क्योंकि छोटा किसान तो मंडी पहुंच ही नहीं पाता था। अब ऐसा नहीं है। अब छोटे से छोटा किसान भी मंडी से बाहर हुए हर सौदे को लेकर कानूनी कार्यवाही कर सकता है। यानी किसान को अब फल से, धोखे से बचाने के लिए कानूनी संरक्षण भी मिला है।
The Prime Minister said the government not just wants to provide them new market opportunities, but also wants to strengthen the mandi system. He said the farmers of the country will lead the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign. The Prime Minister alleged that miscommunication is being spread by the opposition about the agricultural reforms.
पहले होता ये था कि सरकार का कोई फैसला अगर किसी को पसंद नहीं आता था तो उसका विरोध होता था। लेकिन बीते कुछ समय से हम एक नया ट्रेंड देख रहे हैं। हम अब देख रहे हैं कि अब विरोध का आधार फैसला नहीं बल्कि भ्रम फैलाकर, आशंकाएं फैलाकर फिर तो भविष्य में ऐसा होगा को आधार बनाया जा रहा है। अपप्रचार किया जाता है कि भाई फैसला तो ठीक है लेकिन पता नहीं इससे आगे चलकर क्या क्या होगा, और फिर कहते हैं ऐसा होगा जो अभी हुआ ही नहीं है, जो कभी होगा ही नहीं, उसको लेकर समाज में भ्रम फैलाया जाता है।
Mr. Modi said, decades of deceit makes farmers apprehensive, but now there is no deceit and the NDA government is working with pure intentions. He alleged that in the name of farmers, many packages and projects were announced earlier, but their benefits never reached the poor farmers. He added, the government is also constantly answering those farmer families who still have some concerns. He expressed confidence that those farmers who have some doubts on agricultural reforms today will also take advantage of these agricultural reforms in future and increase their income.
जिन किसान परिवारों की अभी भी कुछ चिंताएं हैं, कुछ सवाल है, तो उनका जवाब भी सरकार निरंतर दे रही है, समाधान करने का भरपूर प्रयास कर रही है। मां अन्नपूर्णा के आशीर्वाद से हमारा अन्नदाता आत्मनिर्भर भारत की अगुवाई करेगा। मुझे विश्वास है आज जिन किसानों को कृषि सुधारों पर कुछ शंकाएं हैं, वो भी भविष्य में इन कृषि सुधारों का लाभ उठाकर अपनी आय बढ़ाएंगे, ये मेरा पक्का विश्वास है.
The centre has invited farmers for talks with high-level ministerial committee today. In a letter addressed to the protesting farmers, Secretary Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare Ministry Sanjay Agrawal invited farmer leaders for talks at 3 p.m. at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar has said that farmer leaders present in the first round of talks have been invited for the dialogue. The invitation came after consultations among senior BJP leaders over ways to reach farmers' leaders in order to end the stalemate. Farmers' organizations are agitating against the new farm laws.
The Narendra Modi government has taken several measures with an aim to transform the agricultural sector in the country and raise farmers' income. The government has recently implemented new farm acts in this direction, which includes the Farmers' Produce, Trade and Commerce, Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020 and the Farmers' Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020. More on this from our correspondent.
These acts provide for creation of an ecosystem where the farmers and traders will have freedom of choice of sale and purchase of agri-produce. It will promote barrier-free inter-state and intra-state trade and commerce outside the physical premises of markets notified under state agricultural produce marketing legislation, which will reduce marketing costs for the farmers. The farmers will not be charged any cess or levy for sale of their produce. The acts aim at creating additional trading opportunities outside the APMC market yards to help farmers get remunerative prices due to additional competition. Anand Kumar, AIR News, Delhi.
In Jammu and Kashmir, polling is underway for the second phase of District Development Council DDC elections. Voting is taking place for 43 DDC constituencies in this phase. More than 7,90,000 voters will decide the fate of 321 candidates. A report of our Srinagar correspondent.
Out of 43 DDC constituencies going to polls in this phase, 25 are in Kashmir Valley and 18 in Jammu Division. The polling commenced amid severe cold in the morning. It is expected to pick up as day progresses and temperatures improve. All arrangements are in place for smooth and peaceful polling. The first phase of the 8-phase DDC elections in the UT saw 52% voter turnout on Saturday. 83 vacant Sarpanch seats and 331 Panch seats are also going to by polls with these DDC polls. Mushtaq Ahmed Antre, AIR News, Srinagar.
Home Minister Amit Shah today saluted the Jawans of Border Security Force BSF for their service and dedication on the occasion of 56th Raising Day of the Force. In a tweet, Mr. Shah said, BSF has always lived up to its motto, Jeevan Paryatna Kartavya, with its valor. He said, India is proud of BSF.
In Uttar Pradesh, voting has begun for 11 legislative council seats. Polling, which started at 8 this morning, will end at 5 in the evening. Out of 11 seats, 5 are graduate consultancies and 6 teachers' constituencies. More from our Lucknow correspondent.
Polling for these 11 seats is going in 72 districts in state except Kanpur Nagar, Kanpur Dehat and Unnao districts. In wake of COVID-19 infection, all necessary arrangements have been made at polling booths. There are 12,69,817 voters registered for graduate constituencies who could franchise on 1,808 polling booths. For 6 division teachers constituencies, there are 206,335 voters who could vote on 813 polling booths. For total 11 seats, there are 199 candidates in fray, out of which for graduate constituencies, there are 114 candidates and for teachers constituencies, 85 candidates. MS Yadav, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Telangana, amidst tight security arrangements, polling has begun in Hyderabad to elect new corporators for Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation during this general election. Through ballot paper, over 74 lakh electors will elect 150 corporators, out of which at least 50% will be women. Polling has commenced at 7 a.m. and will continue till 6 p.m. at 9,101 polling stations across 4 districts: Hyderabad, Rangareddy, Mechal, Malkagiri and Sangareddy. Our correspondent says elaborate arrangements have been made by the authorities to ensure free and fair polling besides safety of electors in the wake of COVID pandemic.
The State Election Commission authorities have made elaborate arrangements for ensuring each and every elector to exercise their vote, even in the pandemic conditions. COVID-positive electors will also be allowed to cast their vote, but during the last hour of the polling. However, they are allowed to utilize postal ballot also. Besides electors above 80 years of age, persons of differently abled have also been given this opportunity, besides officials on polling duty. 10 COVID-19 kits have been kept at each polling station, in addition to sanitizer bottles. About 48,000 officials have been put on polling duty and over 52,000 police personnel have been deployed for the same. Lakshmi, AR News, Hyderabad.
The Health Ministry has issued new COVID-19 guidelines for marketplaces. These include fines for not wearing masks and discounts for shopping during lean hours. The SOPs outlined that marketplaces in containment zones shall remain closed. The guidelines also suggest closing of markets if large number of coronavirus cases are reported. The SOP said that online booking of groceries and doorstep delivery of those must be encouraged. The SOPs outlined that marketplaces in containment zones shall remain closed. Shop owners and employees living in containment zones shall not be allowed entry into marketplaces, it stated. According to the SOPs, COVID-appropriate behavior in marketplaces may be regulated by market associations through a number of measures.
The country's COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 93.81% as a total of 45,333 patients have recovered during the last 24 hours. According to the Health Ministry, the total number of recoveries has gone up to over 88,47,000. During the past 24 hours, 38,772 new cases were reported, taking the total number of positive cases to over 94,31,000. Currently, India's case fatality is at 1.45%, which is one of the lowest globally.
India is putting up a better fight against COVID-19 pandemic than most of the countries. The Narendra Modi government took many quick decisions which saved people from the pandemic. India was among the quickest to react at the government and institutional level. China notified the world on 7th of January about the Wuhan virus, and the very next day, India had a mission meeting on 8th January itself. Our correspondent has filed this report.
India started screening passengers from 17th of January, among the first countries in the world to do so. First case in India was detected on 30th of January, and aggressive containment and screening measures were instituted. On the other end of the spectrum, India was among the first to introduce rapid antigen tests along with RT-PCR tests. India was criticized initially for this strategy, but later the World Health Organization adopted itself this model. It was in March first week that Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced he would not join any Holy Millen event since the scientific advice was to stay away from social gatherings. It was among the earliest examples among the world leaders to send a message to the country. When Mr. Modi sent this message of staying away from mass gatherings to millions of countrymen, India did not even have 50 cases. Large parts of India made masks mandatory way back in April itself, with Mr. Modi himself wearing masks in public since early April, while the WHO waited till June before recommending it to the world over. With Anand Kumar's support, Tanvi Khurana, AIR News, Delhi.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says government will continue MSP and old mandi system along with the agricultural reforms. Centre invites farmer leaders for talks today in New Delhi. Voting is underway for the second phase of DDC elections in Jammu and Kashmir. The Health Ministry issues new COVID guidelines for marketplaces, and US President-elect Joe Biden names Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary and Indian-American Neera Tandon as Director, Office of Management and Budget. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
To get accurate, reliable and wide coverage of news, tune into AIR News 24/7 and FM Gold and listen to the major bulletins at 8:30 a.m., 2 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. in English and 8 a.m., 2:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. in Hindi of half an hour each.
The Mumbai Municipal Corporation has started the process of identifying places for cold storage facilities for storing the COVID-19 vaccine. It is converting a 5,000 square feet floor in a building at Kanjurmarg into a cold storage facility. It will be ready by December the 15th. More from our Mumbai correspondent.
The Mumbai Municipal Corporation has said that it will set up cold storage houses at 3 places in the city's eastern and western suburbs to store the much-awaited corona vaccine. Additional Commissioner of BMC Suresh Kakani informed that the search for the exact sites for the cold storage houses is currently underway, while one site at Kanjurmarg has been finalized. This building at Kanjurmarg is being used for COVID-19 screening and management at present. One of its floor will be converted into cold storage. Kakani also said that when the vaccine becomes available in Mumbai, it will first be given to frontline personnel. Madhuri Pange, AIR News, Mumbai.
In Tamil Nadu, the active COVID-19 caseload has dropped to 10,997, while the new infections yesterday have been 1,410. In Odisha, COVID-19 active caseload has further gone down below 5,000. With 809 fresh recoveries yesterday, the active cases have decreased to 4,868. On the other hand, while the cumulative caseload has increased to 3,18,725, COVID-19 fatalities have jumped to 1,739. More from our Bhubaneswar correspondent.
During the last 24 hours, the state witnessed to the intraday positive cases plunging down below 500, first time since the 16th of July. During the one-day period, the number of recoveries at 809 was almost double the number of case discovery at 418. All the medical colleges in the state are reopening from today with proper COVID-19 protocol in place. However, the government in a fresh set of guidelines continue to prohibit large congregations across the state till the end of this month. Kiresh Chandra Das, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
Gujarat recorded 1,502 new cases during the last 24 hours. The recovery rate in the state remains at 90.96%. More from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
The number of total cases of COVID-19 detected so far in Gujarat has reached up to 2,09,780. Out of these, 1,90,821 patients recovered. 1,401 patients recovered during the last 24 hours. More than 78,25,000 tests have been carried out in the state till date. At present, total active cases in the state are 14,970, out of which 83 patients are on ventilator. 20 patients died yesterday, taking the total death due to COVID-19 up to 3,989. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
In Delhi, a total of 3,726 new COVID-19 cases were reported yesterday, taking the total count of cases in the national capital to 5,70,374. According to the Delhi Health Department, the death toll due to COVID-19 has gone up to 9,174, with 108 persons succumbing to the virus. The last time the city saw over 100 deaths due to the disease was on November the 24th. The department said that 50,670 COVID-19 tests were conducted in the city in the last 24 hours. The cumulative positivity rate in the national capital is 9.07%. The Delhi government has fixed the price of RT-PCR test by private labs at 800 rupees.
US President-elect Joe Biden has named ex-Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen as his nominee for Treasury Secretary. If confirmed by the Senate, she will be the first woman ever to hold the post. She is among several women chosen for top economic positions. The Biden transition team said others were set to break racial barriers if confirmed. Indian-American Neera Tandon has been named as Director of the Office of Management and Budget. Mr. Biden also named Wally Ediemo, a former Obama administration official and the first CEO of the former president's non-profit foundation, as his nominee for Deputy Treasury Secretary. He also unveiled his White House economic team, consisting of economists Cecilia Rouse, Jared Bernstein, and Heather Baushi. The 19th meeting of the SCO Council of Heads of Governments, that was chaired by Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, ended with the adoption of the joint communique. Addressing media virtually, Secretary West in the External Affairs Ministry, Vikas Swarup, said that this is the first time that a summit-level meeting was held under India's chairmanship since it gained full membership of the organization in 2017. He said, India considers the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO as an important regional organization to promote cooperation in the areas of peace, security, trade, economy, and culture. He said, India is committed to deepening its cooperation with SCO by playing a proactive, positive, and constructive role in the organization. He said, India also congratulates and expresses its full support to Kazakhstan as the next incoming chair of the SCO Council of Heads of Government in 2021.
Nagaland will celebrate its 58th statehood day today. It became the 16th state of the Union of India on the 1st of December 1963. The formal inauguration of the state was done by the then President Dr. S. Radhakrishnan. On the occasion, a state-level program will be held at the Civil Secretariat Plaza, Kohima, today, wherein Chief Minister Nephew Rio will deliver his speech and take salute from the marching contingents. A task force committee headed by former Chief Secretary S.V. Ranganath, appointed by the Karnataka government to suggest a roadmap to implement the national education policy, submitted its report to the government yesterday. Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa received the report from the committee in Bangalore. The report will be submitted for consideration in the next cabinet meeting.
The 10-day-long Adi Mahotsav, a festival of tribes, will be launched today by Union Minister for Tribal Affairs Arjun Munda in a virtual format. Keeping in view restrictions due to COVID-19, the TriFit has decided to organize its annual event, Adi Mahotsav 2020, in an online mode. At the festival, Minister of State for Tribal Affairs Renuka Singh, Minister for Tribal Development Madhya Pradesh Meena Singh, and TriFit Chairman Ramesh Chand Meena would be the guests of honor for this online inauguration. World AIDS Day is being observed today to raise public awareness about acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS. The theme this year is Ending the HIV/AIDS Epidemic, Resilience and Impact. The day also provides an opportunity for people to unite in the fight against HIV and to show support for those living with HIV. WHO said the global HIV epidemic is not over and may be accelerating due to COVID-19 pandemic with a devastating impact on communities and countries.
The well-marked low-pressure area that originated in the Andaman Sea and its neighborhood has intensified into a depression early this morning. The Met Department has said in its latest weather bulletin the system is moving into the southeast and its adjoining southwest Bay of Bengal and is traveling at a speed of 7 kilometers an hour for the past 6 hours. It was 590 kilometers east-southeast of Trincomalee in Sri Lanka and 1,000 kilometers east of Kanyakumari when observed last. The weather officials say the system is very likely to intensify into a deep depression in the next 6 hours and into a cyclonic storm in the subsequent 12 hours. It is likely to cross Trincomalee in Sri Lanka by tomorrow evening or night. It is very likely to move westwards afterwards and emerge into the Comoran area in the morning of 3rd December and move towards the South Tamil Nadu coast. More from our Chennai correspondent.
The previous cyclone Nivar that crossed the shores in the intervening night of the 25th and 26th November brought rain to the northern districts of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. This time, the heavy rain is said to be in the southern district, as said by the weather official. Kanyakumari, Tirunelveli, Thuthukudi, Tenkasi, Ramanathapuram and Sivagangai districts are expected to get heavy to very heavy rainfall at a few places and extremely very heavy rainfall at isolated places from the 2nd to 3rd December. The southern district administrations have been alerted to take all precautions to mitigate the effects of the new cyclone, which is the second this season. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
In Kerala, arrangements on war footing as Met Department predicts heavy rain, strong winds and cyclone alert in the state for the coming days. More from our Kerala correspondent.
Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan said that all the departments are instructed to coordinate and facilitate the relief activities in southern districts from Thiruvananthapuram to Ernakulam. Arrangements are being done to shift the people living in vulnerable settlements. Relief and rescue operations in coastal regions are being arranged in coordination with Navy and Coastal Guards. State had requested for 7 more NDRF teams. As cyclone is expected to intensify, red-orange alert had been issued in Thiruvananthapuram, Kollam, Pathanamthitta, Alappuzha and Idukki district for 2nd and 3rd December. Fishing is banned in Kerala coast. Fishermen who are out in the sea are directed to reach the nearest coast at the earliest. Amit Shah, AR News, Thiruvananthapuram.
And now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital had generally foggy and mist in the morning, with temperatures varying between 7 and 27 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will observe mainly clear sky and the temperature will vary between 23 and 35 degrees Celsius. Chennai will have thunderstorms with rain. The temperature will hover between 24 and 30 degrees Celsius. Kolkata is likely to have mainly clear sky. The city observed a minimum temperature of 16 degrees Celsius and is likely to experience maximum temperature of 29 degrees Celsius. On to the north, Jammu witnessed a minimum temperature of 9 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 25 degrees. The city will have a mostly clear sky. Srinagar will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Temperature will hover between -2 degrees Celsius and 13 degrees Celsius. In Leh, there will be partly cloudy sky towards afternoon and evening. The minimum temperature was -5 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 4 degrees. Gilgit will have partly cloudy sky and the temperature would be between -3 degrees Celsius and 14 degrees. Muzaffarabad has mainly clear sky. The temperature will move from 3 to 22 degrees Celsius. In Dehradun, the temperature will hover between 10 and 26 degrees Celsius. The sky will be mainly clear. Chandigarh will have mainly clear sky. The temperature is likely to move from 9 to 24 degrees Celsius. In Hyderabad, the minimum temperature was 17 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 30 degrees. The city will have partly cloudy sky with haze. Ahmedabad will have a clear sky. The minimum temperature was 18 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be 33 degrees. Patna will have mainly clear sky. Temperature will hover between 10 degrees Celsius and 25 degrees Celsius. In Guwahati, fog would occur in the early morning. The minimum temperature was 14 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 28 degrees.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Government invites farm leaders for talks today. PM blames protest on rumour and propaganda is the top story in the Indian Express. Moderna set to seek EU-US clearance for emergency use in the treatment of COVID, writes Hindustan Times. Fresh cases dip, but share of semi-urban rural areas in total up to 45% from 20% in April, reports the Times of India. The Pioneer quotes Dr. Harshvardhan as saying that the government plans to vaccinate around 25 to 30 crore people by August 2021. PM Modi will hold an all-party meet on Friday to discuss the COVID-19 pandemic situation in the country, reports the Asian Age. While sharing a meeting of SCO heads of government, the Vice President said, cross-border terror is the biggest challenge for SCO region, writes The Hindu. Depression puts Tamil Nadu, Kerala on another cyclone watch, according to IMD, reports The Hindu. And finally, IMD data shows that this November was the coldest in 71 years, writes Hindustan Times. City's coldest November since the birth of Indian Republic, writes the Times of India.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says government will continue MSP and old mandi system along with agricultural reforms. Centre invites farmer leaders for talks today in New Delhi. Voting is underway for second phase of DDC elections in Jammu and Kashmir. Health Ministry issues new COVID guidelines for marketplaces. US President-elect Joe Biden names Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary and Indian-American Meera Tandon as Director, Office of Management and Budget. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.